This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
All right, and welcome to the GSMC Sports Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network, and as always, I am your host, Jesse Tapia. All right, it is now Thursday, day before Friday, obviously, and let me tell you what we got going on today. So, first off, we got more Kawhi Leonard rumors, okay? Seems like he's going to end up either with the Lakers or Celtics very soon. Those are the two teams that keep popping up. We'll talk about that for this first segment and talk about if the Lakers being better would be good for the NBA. All right, so I got some thoughts on that. Second segment, we're going to talk about today's World Cup games. We had England and Belgium. That was a bit disappointing considering the fact that neither team fielded their best starting 11. All right, so we'll do that. We'll talk about Senegal disappointing me by losing to Colombia and getting knocked out of the group. We'll talk about Japan basically knowing that all they needed was a draw, or actually it was okay for them to lose, so they basically played sideways the entire game. Okay? And we'll mention Tunisia and Panama. Not sure how much we'll talk about, but nonetheless, I mean, it is Tunisia and Panama, so there's not much to be said there. Okay. Third segment. Should the Tampa Bay Buccaneers cut Jameis Winston? His 3-game suspension now in effect. And it was actually going to be a 6-game suspension, but they negotiated it down to 3. So I'll give my thoughts on that. And then for the fourth segment, if we don't get into it for the fourth, we'll be talking about the round of 16 matchups in the World Cup. I mean, there's a whole left side of the bracket that's completely stacked. I mean, you got France, Argentina, Portugal, Uruguay, all right, Mexico, Brazil, Belgium, Japan, and there's one more team or one more matchup in there. On the other side, you got like Denmark, Croatia, and games like that. Like England could make the World Cup final this year. All right, I think the toughest team in that side is Spain and Croatia, I guess. So I think the three favorites, at least three teams with a high possibility is Spain, Croatia, and England. Like I said, I think England's got the easier spot considering the fact that I think if Croatia wins, then they're probably going to play Spain if they win. All right, so we'll look at the round of 16 and all, but nonetheless, you got Adrian Wojnarowski dropping his Woj bombs, talking about how the Celtics and Lakers are in pretty good negotiations with the Spurs. Pretty good negotiations, meaning stuff's getting serious. Okay, let me see exactly what I could find here. Says Boston's being cautious on Leonard. All right, this was after he reported it. Jaylen Brown hasn't been involved in any of the talks. And I think with the Celtics and, the first tweet that he put out today, it says the Spurs are fully engaged in trade talks with several teams on Kawhi Leonard, including the Lakers and Celtics. And then it says that Boston has the assets that the Spurs want most. Well, obviously, okay? But for the rest of the day, it's all been about the Lakers and Celtics, so I'm assuming those are the two teams right there. Like, Kawhi's probably going to end up with one of those two teams, okay? And seeing that Jaylen Brown hasn't been involved in the trade talks pretty much tells me that a trade between the Celtics and Spurs would probably consist of Terry Rozier, maybe a sign-and trade with Marcus Smart, okay? And then a whole bunch of their first-round picks going forward. I feel like that's a pretty decent haul for... I'll probably do like 2 first-round picks, actually. All right, the Kings pick. I don't know. Do you give up the Kings pick next year for Kawhi Leonard, even if it's on a 1-year rental? I think you would. I don't know. These are questions that we got to ask. But nonetheless, like I said, I don't expect Kyrie Irving to be going anywhere. The only way you would see a Jaylen Brown, Kyrie Irving, any of those guys going to San Antonio is if Kawhi said, yeah, I'll sign a long-term deal in Boston. Okay? I have no problem with Boston trading for Kawhi Leonard if it's including Terry Rozier and Marcus Smart, considering the fact that Terry Rozier is going to be a free agent after this season, and Marcus Smart, an expense for Kawhi Leonard, doesn't sound too bad, does it? All right. And then you get the Lakers still trying to trade for Kawhi Leonard. It's a little bit of pressure on the Lakers considering the fact that they got to figure out what exactly their team's going to look like so that they know to pitch LeBron and try and figure out a way to get him there. Okay. I mean, the Lakers definitely would probably have to give up more than what the Celtics would be offering. Okay. Like, the Lakers would have to give up at least Ingram, like 2 out of the 3, Ingram, Kuzma, Lonzo. And if I'm the Spurs, I'm not really budging here. All right, if I don't like Lonzo because of LeVar, then I'm taking Ingram, Kuzma, and then a few of your first-round picks. All right. I mean, it's Lakers-Spurs. They've always been rivals. Front offices never really have done any type of work together. Okay? And plus, it makes no sense to keep them in the West. All right? I mean, why would you want to play against the guy about, 3 times a year? Okay? And one thing we're not really considering is the Spurs are still going to be a decent team if they trade away Kawhi Leonard. All right. No matter who they trade for, they're going to be better than last year. All right. You bring in Brandon Ingram and Kyle Kuzma, like I said, you're already better than last year. The Spurs aren't going to get, they're going to get worse, but they're not going to be bad. Okay. Last year, the Spurs were a 6 seed without Kawhi? You're adding Brandon Ingram and Kyle Kuzma there with LaMarcus Aldridge. All right. That's a pretty solid squad. Okay. Plus, you got first-round picks coming. I mean, those first-round picks really aren't going to mean much given the fact that the Lakers are going to be really good for the next few years of the future, considering the fact that they're probably going to be bringing in LeBron, Paul George, or Kawhi. But nonetheless, I mean, the Spurs want to remain competitive. You probably do a deal with the Lakers, okay? Because it seems with the Celtics, you're not getting Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown or any of those guys. You're probably going to get a Terry Rozier or Marcus Smart. I mean, those are guys there that could help you out. Marcus Smart could be the lockdown defender that Kawhi was. Terry Rozier, I think he'd be a good fit on that team considering the fact that I think they need point guard help, okay? Last year, Patty Mills didn't really do as well as you would have expected, and Tony Parker just seems about done, okay? But I mean, looking at it now, let's say the Lakers don't even get Kawhi. Let's say they get LeBron and Paul George. That's going to be so much better for the NBA. Okay? Because there's going to be the off chance that somehow that Laker team can beat the Warriors. And imagine if we got Lakers-Celtics finals. Okay? LeBron versus Kyrie Irving. I mean, the ratings for that final series would be off the roof. Through the roof. Okay? And people are going to say, because people tend to question, why the Lakers and Celtics being good is better for the NBA, like Red Sox, Yankees, okay? I guess Dallas for the NFL. All right, people always question, what does it matter if they're good? How is that better? And like I said, I mean, imagine you got LeBron going up against the Celtics, one of his biggest rivals. Not only that, you got LeBron versus Kyrie, and to top it all off, it's Celtics-Lakers. Okay, another chapter in that rivalry. Of course, the team that would have a say in that is the Warriors. Okay, let's not forget that this Warriors team is still the best team by far in this league. Okay, and speaking of the Warriors, you had LeBron. Stephen A. Smith reporting that LeBron contacted KD saying what he was going to do, see if he wanted to join him up in LA. All right. And I think it's a foregone conclusion that LeBron is going to the Lakers too. So I think we should all get past that and more so focus on what's going on with Kawhi Leonard and all these other free agents. All right. But nonetheless, I mean, LeBron's looking everywhere for help, even his biggest enemy. All right. And the Warriors. And I mean, if you're LeBron, I mean, it can't hurt to see if KD would be willing to come. I mean, KD, I don't think he really cares about what other fans and people think about him, right? I mean, that's kind of like a contradiction there, because if he didn't care, he wouldn't have had that burner Twitter account where he was defending himself in his decision to go to Oklahoma or to go to Golden State. All right, but I mean, thinking about a team with LeBron and KD, would that work? I mean, like I said, you could always put a bunch of superstars on a team together, but they got to play together, actually. All right, obviously that Paul George, Russell Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony thing didn't really work out, did it? Okay. But, I mean, like I said, LeBron's looking everywhere for help. It seems that his goal is to basically beat the Warriors. All right, so him going to LA, I'd say there's no doubt that they're going to definitely be adding another superstar, whether it's Kawhi or Paul George. If it's not Paul George, it'll definitely be Kawhi. All right, so I think with LeBron going there, and like I said, I mean, you got Stephen A. saying that LeBron's recruiting him to LA and stuff. Like, LeBron is going to LA. All right, so if you're a Laker fan, you're going to be pretty excited, considering the fact that you are going to end up with two new superstars, one being the best player in the league, and another being either one of the better small forwards in the league or a top 5 player in Kawhi Leonard. Okay? And I mean, there is the possibility that they just say, forget it, and just get both of them. I mean, imagine them adding Paul George, Kawhi, and LeBron. I'm not sure how the money works there, or even if it works at all, but like I said, okay, LeBron leaving the East puts Boston in prime position to take over. If not for Philly having something to say about that, it'll probably be Boston and Philly competing to go to the finals for the next few years. And I mean, this is perfect for the NBA. You could have Celtics-Lakers rivalry once again, LeBron-Kyrie. All right, Philly-Boston rivalry out East. Lakers and Golden State going at it the entire time. Plus, you got Houston, okay, who, let's not forget, did almost knock off the Warriors. I mean, the league, people complain about the league not being competitive. It could be after this offseason. Like, we could be back to normal. Of course, it's only going to be about 6 or 5 teams competing for being the best. I get 5 teams: Celtics, Philly, Lakers, Warriors, Rockets, right? Am I missing anyone else? I don't think so. So it'll be that 5 teams basically competing to go to the finals every year. 3 out the West competing to go, and then 2 in the East competing to go to the finals. So, like I said, it's good for basketball. I think it's going to be real fun seeing LeBron play for the Lakers. And like I said, I'm very curious to see how Laker fans deal with the fact that Kobe's now the 3rd best player to play there or whatever. All right, so we'll see what ends up going down. But nonetheless, we're going to wrap it up here. Next up, we're going to be talking about today's World Cup matches. So stay tuned, and I will be right back.
Are you looking for the very best NFL and college football podcast? Then check out the GSMC Football Podcast. Get the latest football news both on and off the field. From the NFL Draft to trades to the rumor mill to the NFL Combines, they got you covered. That's GSMCpodcast.com/football-podcast. Get updates on college rivalries, game day insights, and much, much more. It's football talk the way you want it. This show eats, sleeps, and breathes football. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. We spent that first segment talking about Kawhi Leonard, talked a bit about LeBron, Lakers, Celtics, and all that stuff, all right? So we spent the first segment on that. Now we're going to be talking about the World Cup. I mean, I guess England and Belgium had a plan, and that plan was to not end up on the bad side of the World Cup bracket. This round of 16 bracket knockout stage now, where you got Uruguay, Portugal playing each other, France, Argentina, Brazil, Mexico. All right, weakest team there is Japan. All right, if you lost in this game, talking about Belgium and England, then you get the opportunity to be on the side of the bracket that consists of Spain, Russia, Croatia, Denmark, Sweden, Switzerland, and Colombia. All right. And that sounds a whole lot better than winning. So looking at the lineups of these two teams, I mean, we're expecting Harry Kane versus Lukaku, Hazard, all right, Raheem Sterling, all those guys to be playing. We got, for England, Jordan Pickford, Phil Jones, John Stones, Gary Cahill. John Stones actually came away with an injury in this one too. Eric Dyer played. Trent Alexander-Arnold, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Fabian Delph, Danny Rose, Jamie Vardy, Marcus Rashford. All right, so on the bench, England left Kyle Walker, Ashley Young, Kevin Trippier, Dele Alli, Jesse Lingard, Jordan Henderson, Raheem Sterling, Harry Kane, Danny Welbeck, and Harry Maguire came off the bench for England in this one. Obviously, the goal of the game was not to win. All right. Looking at Belgium, they're starting 11. Michy Batshuayi, Marouane Fellaini, Januzaj. Not even the right Hazard. You put in Hazard's little brother. Okay. Dembele, Tielemans, Chadley. I mean, come on now. I'm almost positive that guy still plays for... play for West Brom. They got relegated. Okay. Everyone's like the slowest defender in all of soccer. Thomas Vermaelen. All right. A couple of other defenders that aren't really too, I guess you'd say, popular, notable. All right. You had Dedrick Boyata, who plays for Celtic. I mean, that's not great. And then Knocker plays for RSC Anderlecht. All right. Courtois started, I guess. That was the best player in their starting 11. They left Vertonghen, Meunier, Alderweireld, Carrasco, Witsel, De Bruyne, Hazard, and Lukaku on the bench. Mertens and company are the two that came on. All right. Why did they do this to us? Everyone was so excited to see who would win this game. All right. This was supposed to be the game of the group, and they took that away from us. I mean, now I kind of get why fans of the NBA will complain when like the Cavs were to be playing the Warriors and I guess the Spurs, all right? So when the Spurs are resting players, all right, kind of for big games and all. You're expecting to see a bunch of stars playing, good game, and you don't get it. I kind of get it now, all right? I was expecting England and Belgium to have a good game, both starting 11s to be real strong, and it just wasn't the case. All right, this game wasn't really fun at all. I mean, you had Januzaj scoring. That was a good goal. But other than that, I mean, there was no real true excitement, I'd say. Both these teams pretty much, like, you knew they knew what their goal was. I mean, a lot of shots were taken, 14 by Belgium, 11 by England. England only had 2 on target. Belgium had 4. All right. Second half, I mean, England was the more active team. But like I said, we got only 1 goal in this one. And wasn't the players that we were expecting to see. I guess cool. Now Belgium gets to play Japan, but they're on the tough side of the bracket. England, they're on the weaker side of the bracket, but you got to play Colombia up first. All right. If England, like it'd be classic England fashion to lose on purpose, so you're on the easier side of the bracket and lose your first game to a tough team. And that's probably what's going to end up happening. All right. And for Belgium, they'll probably beat Japan and either lose to Mexico or Brazil. All right. But nonetheless, I mean, that game, you wake up for it. All right. You get started with Colombia and Senegal. You're checking over at Japan and Poland. And you're basically getting ready for the game of the day later, not knowing that it's not going to come. All right. Then we had Tunisia and Panama playing. Poor Panama in their first World Cup. Do not get a win. Did take the lead once in this game. All right. Off of an own goal. And I mean, the own goals here have been ridiculous, honestly. Let's clean it up. All right, then you got Tunisia scoring twice in the second half. Like I said, they won 2-1. This was the forgotten game of the day. All right, and this was one where Tunisia dominated, had 70% of the ball, 14 total shots, 6 on target. Panama, maybe next time. But chances are you'll be losing your spot to the U.S. All right. So that game went on, and we had Japan, Poland. Poland ended up winning this one 1-0. All right. Jan Bedornek scoring for Poland. I mean, Japan knew what they needed to do here. They weren't playing for a win. They were playing to advance. It was ugly football. Okay. Side-to-side passing, not necessarily trying to go on attack or anything like that. Poland knew they were trying to do that, and Poland was fine with it. Poland wasn't trying to stop them or anything like that. All right, like I said, it was just bad football all around. But nonetheless, Japan loses. They make it out the group because Colombia beat Senegal. All right. Colombia beats Senegal 1-0. And in that game, too, you had James Rodriguez coming off, still dealing with the calf injury left in the 31st minute. Colombia is in trouble, and England actually might have a chance now that I think about it. Completely forgot about James leaving that game. I remember seeing it. And it was kind of like maybe the Colombia manager was making a tactical decision, but then you see James limping off and all that, and you realize, oh, yeah, no, he's actually hurt, and this is bad. This is very bad for Colombia. All right. But nonetheless, he comes off. Yerry Mina scores. Is it Jerry or Yerry? I think it's Yerry Mina. Scores in the 74th minute. I mean, the dude's a goal-scoring machine. It's his second goal in his second start. Okay. And game ends that way. Colombia had 60% of the ball. Senegal took more shots. Took 7 to Colombia's 4. 3 of them were on target to Colombia's 2. And Senegal just couldn't get it in the back of the net. All right. They just didn't have too many opportunities. So, of course, looking at the group standings as they finish, Colombia ended up winning the group with 6 points. Japan with 4 points in second. Senegal missing out with 4 points. They miss out due to the FIFA fair play rules, meaning Senegal had more yellow cards than Japan. So Japan gets through. Senegal, sorry, but you don't get to play anymore, which is very disappointing. Okay, but it's kind of like this. I mean, head-to-head, they tied. Same goal differential, same amount of goals scored, same amount of goals given up. How else are they supposed to decide this? Okay. You want them to flip a coin? I'd say that doesn't really work out. And I think FIFA has always done it this way. It's just one of the first few times where you actually have to implement this rule. Okay, so I don't really have a problem with it. I do think that Senegal was the better team amongst them and Japan. Okay. I'd say maybe they were a bit balanced. I mean, Senegal beat Poland. Poland beat Japan. Japan beat Colombia. And I mean, Japan did beat Colombia with 10 men, and James wasn't fully fit. So, you know what? Yeah, I will say Senegal was the better team, and I would have very much liked to see Senegal advance. I mean, imagine seeing Senegal versus Belgium. Yeah, that would have been a tough game for them, but nonetheless, I mean, or actually, no, if Senegal were to tie, they would have won the group. So they would have played England. That would have been a fun game to see, and I still think Senegal and Belgium would have been a decent game too. But, I mean, Japan have played well in the group, so you can't really get too frustrated at it there, I guess. All right, but not the financial fair play. It's a whole different rule, but the FIFA fair play rule, a bit new to everyone, I could tell. All right, not everyone's too happy about it, but nonetheless, what are you going to do? Okay. So, obviously, we got the round of 16 set up, and let me see. Go through all the matches, like I said. We got Uruguay, Portugal, France, Argentina, Brazil, Mexico, Belgium, Japan on one side of the bracket. Other side, like I said, it's Spain, Russia, Croatia, Denmark, Sweden, Switzerland, Colombia, England. We're going to get more in depth with all these matches in the final segment of the show, and we're going to I'll make my picks too and see who I have winning the World Cup. So we're going to wrap it up here. Next up, we're going to be talking about Jameis Winston, all right, with some other NFL stuff that comes up. Should the Bucs release him, I'll give my thoughts on it. So stay tuned for that, and I'll be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to Extreme Cage Fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. Spent the first two segments talking about Kawhi Leonard. All right, yes, we've talked about, 2-3 days in a row? We got to. All right, this whole NBA offseason thing is a ticking time bomb. Something like Kawhi Leonard, I think, is going to get traded within the next couple of days. Whether it's to Boston or LA, I'm not sure. All right, but it does seem like those are the two top teams right there. Maybe the Celtics could get one more over on LA by getting Kawhi. All right, and like I said, it just seems like the Lakers feel they need to get Kawhi before they can make their pitch to LeBron. Because obviously you're going to need, like it's cool to tell LeBron, oh yeah, we're going to get Paul George here, we're going to get Kawhi here to play with you. Like, it's cool telling him that, but it's one thing for it to actually happen. Okay? And I'm curious, do you think LeBron would still go to LA even if Paul George or Kawhi weren't there? I'm not sure. It all depends on, I guess, what he wants to do as far as the rest of his NBA career. Is it to beat the Warriors? Is it to make more money? Because if it's to make more money, then yeah, LA is easily the number one place to go to. All right. So we'll see about it. Nonetheless, second segment, like I said, we talked World Cup. England, Belgium. I got a real beef with them. Was expecting that to be a great game. Woke up early, watched Colombia and Senegal. Okay. Figured this is going to be a nice little warm-up game before the England-Belgium game starts. That's going to be the best one of the day. Colombia-Senegal ends. Jesse takes a little nap, wakes up. Let me see these England and Belgium lineups. Oh, wow, really? All right. We're going to play the second team. We're not going to play the starters because who wants to win the group, right? Who wants to play in the tough side of the bracket? So let's try and lose. England, I guess, won and lost this game. Belgium also won and lost. All right. I mean, I'm not one to complain usually with the lineups teams put out, but I was very excited to see it. Now, my last game of the day is a disappointment, and I can't follow it up and try and make it better tomorrow because there's no games tomorrow. Round of 16 doesn't start till Saturday. Saturday's got some good games, though. Uruguay, Portugal, France, Argentina. I mean, you can't go wrong there. I think Sunday is, it's Croatia, Denmark, and Spain, Russia, if I'm not mistaken. All right. But nonetheless, I mean, World Cup easily been one of the best ones so far, I'd say. This is one of the best of all time, I think. I mean, group stage, there was only probably one bad game, and it was that 0-0 game between Denmark and France. All right. But nonetheless, I mean, look at, we got France, Argentina, Uruguay, Portugal one day, Brazil, Mexico, Belgium, Japan another, and then we got Sweden, Switzerland, Colombia, England on a third. All right. I didn't say Spain, Russia, Croatia, Denmark, because those aren't necessarily the best games. All right. But nonetheless, I mean, like I said, World Cup really hasn't disappointed so far. So let's talk about Jameis Winston now. Obviously, you know why he's getting a suspension. Like I said earlier, it was supposed to be 6 games. Now it's 3. Negotiated it down. If you're Tampa Bay, do you cut him? Okay. Jameis hasn't necessarily done really much since he's been in the league. All right, he's only played 3 years, so obviously you probably got to give him some time, but it just seems that Tampa Bay's been waiting on him to mature and all, and it just hasn't happened or anything like that. Okay. Jameis Winston, I've always thought that he was better than Marcus Mariota as far as his play on the field. All right, looking at his rookie year. Started 16 games, all of them. All right, went 6-10, completed 58% of his passes, threw for 4,000 yards, 22 touchdowns, 15 picks. The next year, starts 16 games, goes 9-7, 61% completion percentage, nearly 4,100 yards, 28 touchdowns, 18 interceptions. And then this past season, they play 16 games in a row. He only plays 13 because he injures his shoulder. In those games, they go 3-10, 64% completion percentage, 3,500 yards, 19 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Jameis hasn't been great since he's came into the league. He's been good. He's shown promise, but he hasn't been great. All right, Marcus Mariota's gotten the Titans to the playoffs, once for sure? Has it been twice? I think it was just once, all right, and won a playoff game. Although Andy Reid did have a hand in that. All right, and we've already talked enough about it, so we won't even get into it. But like I said, okay, Tampa Bay had their choice of Mariota or Winston. They went Winston. Okay, obviously it's worked out well for one compared to the other. Okay, and yeah, Mariota only went to the playoffs once because in his second year he went 8-7. His first year they go 3-9. Okay, so I'm just thinking about it. Like I said, you're the Bucks. You took him back 2013, I think it was. You take him number 1. All right. Now you see, guy doesn't really have his head on straight. All right, he's lying, getting suspended. How much longer do you want to deal with that? Okay, there's a lot of factors that come into this. One, how much do you care about fan perception? 2, is there a viable plan for you to set up to where you're not going to be set back too much? Okay, because taking a guy number 1 overall, especially a quarterback, and him not working out, is going to set your franchise back. All right. This draft wasn't necessarily, this draft was pretty good as far as quarterbacks, but obviously Tampa Bay wasn't in the market for one. Next year's draft, I've been seeing Bleacher Report and their little draft analyst, Matt Miller, talk about it. Next year's draft class, 2019 quarterback one, is supposed to be one of the worst. Okay? And it makes sense, because I've always wondered, usually you see teams where he's like, oh yeah, they're going to be in the market for a quarterback next year. All these teams right now got their quarterbacks. All right? Dallas has Dak. The Giants got Eli. Philly's got 2 of them. Redskins got Smith. Bears got Trubisky. Lions got Stafford. Packers got Rodgers. Vikings got Cousins. Okay. NFC South, they all got theirs except for Tampa, I guess. NFC West, they all got their quarterbacks. Rickies. Okay. And guys like Jared Goff and Wilson. AFC East, they got their quarterbacks of the future. AFC North, they got their quarterbacks. South, they got theirs. West, they got theirs. You can't definitively tell me, okay, this team is definitely going to need a quarterback next season. All right? So if I'm Tampa Bay, I'm a bit worried considering the fact that you might be thinking about cutting him, but there's no quarterback for you to take next draft. Or at least one that scouts are excited about. All right? So I think that the Bucks are going to end up sticking with Jameis. But it's a point where you got to just bring him in and tell him, like, dude, you're being a dummy. Okay? Like, what's going on here? All right, and I know that this is from past stuff, and now it's coming to this conclusion, so that's why he's getting suspended. But like I said, I mean, if you're Tampa Bay, you don't really want to waste too much time going forward with this guy if you can't trust him. Okay? Maybe you just got to bite the bullet here and cut him. And I mean, you cut Jameis Winston, someone's going to sign him, and he's going to be the starting quarterback for a different team. All right? So if you're Tampa Bay, you got to realize that too. All right? You cutting Jameis means he's going to be the starting quarterback somewhere else. And chances are, given the way the NFL works, he's going to get his act together for whatever other team he goes to, and he's going to play well. Okay? I think Chris Carter had a problem coming into the league. All right, and then he got drafted by the Eagles. They cut him. He went over to Minnesota. They fixed him up. Chris Carter, one of the best receivers of all time. Okay. But maybe that's just what it is for Jameis Winston. He needs to go somewhere else in order for him to finally get his head on straight. All right. But nonetheless, I do really think that if you're Tampa Bay, you do need to seriously think about cutting the guy. I've always been a big Jameis fan on the field, but off the field, the dude's not the smartest. All right. And like I said, you're not sure that these problems are going to be done. Plus, on the field, I mean, you got the guy who isn't necessarily the safest with the ball. All right. And will make boneheaded decisions. If you're Tampa Bay, do you want to deal with all that? I'm not sure. All right, this was supposed to be an era in Tampa where they're making the playoffs year after year. I mean, you got Mike Evans, you got Deshaun Jackson, but hasn't worked out. All right, and that NFC South, I mean, all those teams right now are hitting their prime. The Falcons, the Panthers, the Saints are going to need a quarterback in the next few years, but I mean, all the other positions, they're all set up. All right, Tampa Bay is the only team in that division with real serious questions surrounding them. So it'll be real interesting to see what ends up happening with them. But nonetheless, I mean, there's not too much else going on in the NFL right now. All right. I mean, it's all just mini camp still. No real moves. Dez Bryant still not signed. Okay. Like I said, we mentioned yesterday how Steelers are trying to work out a new deal with Le'Veon Bell. They're still negotiating and all, but nonetheless, like I said, still pretty quiet on the NFL front. All right, not the same as the NBA offseason where we got rumors and moves going all over the place. So we're going to wrap it up here. Next up, we're going to be talking about anything else going on in the world of sports and also making my picks for the knockout stages of the World Cup. So stay tuned, and I'll be right back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Sports Podcast. So far today, we've talked Kawhi Leonard. I mean, it really seems like he's going to end up with LA or Boston within the next couple of days. All right. At least that's what it seems like when it's being reported. All right. So we talked about that. We also talked about today's World Cup games. Like I said, England, Belgium. Definitely disappointed. I expected it to consist of a lot more better players, except Belgium and England figured we don't need a win, considering the fact that if we win, we're on the tougher side of the bracket. All right, so that happened. Colombia knocked out Senegal. Japan advanced over Senegal due to the fact they had less yellow cards in their 3 games. Third segment, we talked about whether or not the Bucks should cut Jameis Winston. I'm not sure if... I think you... I don't know. That's a tough decision. All right. It was a first-round pick a few years ago. You cut him, that's going to set your franchise back a few years. Okay. So, I mean, it's all up to them. Like I said, it's a tough decision you got to make, but it might be the right one, considering the fact that just Jameis Winston doesn't seem to be the smartest guy on the planet. Okay. I mean, what can you do there? So now we're going to talk about anything else going on in the world of sports. Let's talk about yesterday's baseball scores for Wednesday, and then, like I said, we'll talk about the round of 16 matchups and pick who I think is going to win going forward. All right. So as far as yesterday's games, we had the Red Sox beating the Angels 9-6. The Reds beat the Braves 6-5. Royals beat the Brewers 5-4. Astros beat the Blue Jays 7-6. Mariners beat the Orioles 8-7. We had the Phillies beating the Yankees 3-0. The A's beating the Tigers 3-0. The Pirates beating the Mets 5-3. Diamondbacks beating the Marlins 2-1. The Rangers beating the Padres 5-2. The White Sox beating the Twins 6-1. Indians beating the Cardinals 5-1. Dodgers beating the Cubs 7-5. And then the Giants beat the Rockies 1-0 on Wednesday. Looking at the standings, Boston overtook first place out in the AL East. They're a half game up. They got a game against the Angels tonight. Then they start their series against the Yankees on Friday, so that's going to be a good one. We got the Indians still in first in their division. Probably will be for the rest of the year. Seattle's still 3.5 games back of Houston in the AL West. Over in the NL East, you got Atlanta 2.5 games up on Philly. 3.5 games up on Washington. All right, NL Central, Milwaukee's up 2.5 on Chicago. 4 up on St. Louis, 8.5 on Pittsburgh. And then out in the NL West, you got Arizona, who's 3 up on LA, 5 up on San Francisco, and then 8.5 up on Colorado. Like I said, Colorado definitely a real disappointing team this season. Looking at the wild card standings, AL, I mean, the Yankees and Seattle got the top 2 spots. The A's, believe it or not, A's got a real solid team. This might be the next couple of years where the A's compete a bit. Maybe they'll make the playoffs, losing the first game how they always do, and then eventually get bad. But it seems they're starting that little cycle where they're going to be good for a couple of years, make the playoffs, not do a thing, and then, like I said, go back to being bad because they had to trade all their good players so they didn't have to pay them. So like I said, the A's are 6.5 games back. They have one of those wild card spots. Let's see. Cubs and Dodgers got the 2 in the NL. The Phillies are a half game back. St. Louis is 1 game back. All right. Washington's a game and a half back. San Francisco's 2 back. Colorado's 5.5. Pittsburgh's 5.5. So obviously out in the NL, wild card race is a whole lot closer compared to the AL, where the next closest team, meaning the third, is 6.5 games back. All right. Whereas Philly in the NL is a half game back. I think we know where the World Series winner might come from this year. It might come from New York. It's definitely not going to be the Mets. It might come from Boston, and it might come from Houston. All right, so we'll see there. Nonetheless, though, anything else going on in the world of sports right now? Like I said, we're very close to the NBA offseason, pretty much blowing up. All right, Shinji Otani, he's cleared to hit. Not cleared to pitch, I don't think, yet. So if you're the Angels, it's a matter of, if you have him get Tommy John, he's done for the year. You could turn him into a full-time hitter for this season, but he's not going to get Tommy John, so he can't pitch for you. All right? Like, if you're the Angels, what do you do there? All right, obviously, Ohtani seems like he's the real deal, but it's just the point of, we should have expected this problem to happen, right? Eventually, he was going to have a problem where it was going to allow him to hit, but he couldn't pitch, or he could pitch, but he couldn't hit. Okay? But nonetheless, we'll see what they end up doing there. If I'm them, I figure this is more of a long-term type plan. Have him get Tommy John, and then... have him get Tommy John, and then just have him come back after that. I feel like he's more dangerous when he could pitch and hit all at the same time. All right. So we'll see what ends up happening there. Let's see anything else going on before we start talking about the knockout stage at the World Cup. I think that's pretty much it right there. All right. So obviously, like I said, we got one good bracket, one good side of the bracket, one bad side. All right. And obviously, I don't know, what's the best game of the knockout stage? I'd say probably France-Argentina. Those are 2 of the top teams. Obviously, I haven't played like it, but nonetheless, I'd say that's probably going to be the best game. It's going to be real interesting because some team is going to get knocked out in that round of 16, talking about France and Argentina, and they're going to come away with a failure. Okay? Even given they had to play a tough team right out the group. All right? Argentina completely disappointed coming in second in their group. Everyone expected them to win it. I get that Croatia's playing well. All right? But you shouldn't have drew with Iceland. You shouldn't have lost 3-0 to Croatia. And Marcos Rojo saved you against Nigeria. So I guess it's on them there. Uruguay, Portugal. Uruguay looks like they're starting to figure it out, starting to play well. All right, dominated Russia. Portugal have been the fighting Cristiano Ronaldos. It's been all about him. He's been the one scoring the goals for them. Okay. That's going to be a decent game there. Going to be interesting to see how Diego Godin and Jose Maria Jimenez deal with Ronaldo. All right. And how that Portuguese defense deals with Suarez and Cavani. We got Mexico, Brazil. Brazil haven't necessarily looked like the greatest team in their group. All right, played well against Serbia, but other than that, didn't necessarily do too much. Against Costa Rica, they needed a last-minute goal to win. Against Switzerland, they drew 1-1. All right, Mexico looked great in their first 2 games. Looked like one of the better teams in the tournament. Third game, everything out the window. They stink. All right. I think this is one of those games, though, where Mexico has a decent shot. All right. You feel like you're going to be heading out the tournament due to a 3-0 loss. South Korea saves you. Now you got this renowned sense of hope. All right. So I think that might help Mexico a bit. We got Belgium, Japan. Belgium should have no problem there. Japan have played well in the group, but nonetheless, they don't come close to Belgium's quality. Then we got Spain, Russia. Russia looked great against Saudi Arabia and Egypt when they finally played a decent team in Uruguay. They had no chance. All right. So I don't expect this one to be much of a match. Croatia, Denmark. This could be a good one. All right, except Croatia's got the better midfield by far, so I think Croatia's going to do fine here. Okay. Let's see, Sweden, Switzerland. Who's the favorite in that one? All right. I think I got to go with Switzerland there. But Sweden did well against Mexico. I mean, outplayed that entire team. Then Colombia and England. That's going to be a fun one, but it won't be as fun if James Rodriguez isn't able to play. All right. I mean, he left today's game in the 31st minute. Obviously, that shows that it's something serious. All right. But nonetheless, if I had to rank the matches, I'd say France, Argentina, number 1. Brazil, Mexico, number 2. If James is playing, Colombia, England, number 3. Uruguay, Portugal, 4. Okay. Croatia, Denmark, 5. Sweden, Switzerland, 6. Belgium, Japan, 7. Spain, Russia, 8. All right. So those are my games ranked and all that as far as the star power and whatnot. Which ones I think are going to be better. But nonetheless, let's make my picks. So Uruguay, Portugal, I got to go. I don't know. Do I go with Ronaldo or do I go with Godin and Jimenez? I'm going to go Uruguay in this one. I think they're going to be able to pull it off. And that's going to be a shame considering the fact that if Argentina and Portugal win, then we get Ronaldo versus Messi in the quarterfinal. But I'm going to go Uruguay. Ugh. I want to go. I don't know. It's tough. You know what? Man, these games are going to be great. I'll stick with Uruguay. Okay, as much as I want to see Portugal and Argentina. And then we got France and Argentina. I'm going to go with France in that one. Argentina haven't looked good at all. Like, I understand they beat Nigeria, but, I mean, if you look more into it, they didn't play really well at all. So I got France and Uruguay advancing. Then we got Mexico, Brazil. I'm going to go with Mexico. All right, they have this thing where they tend to play well against the top teams, play at their level. And like I said, I think that Mexico's had a new sense of hope after South Korea saved them. So I'm going to go with Mexico for the shocker there. Then we got Belgium, Japan. I'm going to go with Belgium there. All right, so we got Uruguay, France, Mexico, Belgium. All right, other side, round of 16 matches. Spain, Russia. I got Spain easily there. Croatia, Denmark. I'll go Croatia. Sweden, Switzerland. I'll go Switzerland. And then Colombia, England. I'll go England. All right, so we got England versus Switzerland, Croatia versus Spain. All right. And then, like I said, Uruguay, France, and then Mexico, Belgium. For the Uruguay and France game, I will go. This is another tough one right here. I'll go. What do I want to go with here? France have a great team. It's just they've underperformed big time. I'll go Uruguay. I'll go Uruguay against France, then Mexico, Belgium. As much as I want to go with Mexico, I feel like I got to go with Belgium here. I don't want to be a homer, so I'll go Belgium against Uruguay in the semis. And then we got Spain versus Croatia. I'll go Croatia. All right, England versus Switzerland. I will go England. So we got semifinals of Belgium, Uruguay, Croatia, England. Not necessarily what FIFA wants. All right. I'll take Uruguay against Belgium. I will take Croatia against England. Uruguay-Croatia final. I can't believe that's the final I got. I'd go Uruguay. All right, the defense is too good, and I like the strikers, so I guess I got Uruguay winning it all. All right, so we'll see what ends up going down, but nonetheless, we're going to wrap it up here. Today we talked Kawhi. We talked about today's World Cup games. We also talked about the knockout stage games. We talked about Jameis Winston also. So thanks for listening to the GSMC Sports Podcast. As always, I am your host, Jesse Tapia. I will be back tomorrow, so stay tuned, and I will talk to you guys later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.